So apparently you guys quite enjoyed the first video of this series where I just yapped about Darkspawn. So I'm doing this again, but this time we're talking about the Grey Wardens because who doesn't love the Grey Wardens? I mean, I guess I'm looking at you. You, if you don't know anything about Dragon Age, you may not know just how much you will actually love the Grey Wardens. Everything about Dragon Age, I feel like it's built around Grey Wardens. And it should be, because they are the coolest, and I love them. So, who are the Grey Wardens, you might be asking, or you might already know, but I'm gonna refresh your memory a little bit. The Grey Wardens are an organization, an order, dedicated to fighting the Darkspawn. We learned about the Darkspawn in the previous video. I will leave the link somewhere in the description, most likely. But they are solely made to fight the Darkspawn across Thedas. That is their sole purpose, is to protect the world from the Blight. They were formed in response to the first Blight, when Darkspawn just came from the ground, commanded by an archdemon, and no one knew what the hell they were looking at and how to fight it. Their home in origin base is in Weishaupt Fortress, which is located somewhere in the Anderfell Mountains. And from inception, the Order has accepted people from any race and background. I'm talking human, elves, dwarves, anyone who is willing to stand against the Darkspawn. Race and social standing did not disqualify anyone from joining the Order, so that means that a lowly servant could be working alongside, let's say, a prince or a king. The Wardens are supposed to be a politically and nationally neutral faction. That means that it doesn't matter what they believed in prior to joining the Order, and it doesn't matter where they come from. Once a recruit joins the Grey Wardens and they become a Grey Warden, the past stays in the past. They are now solely dedicated to fighting the Darkspawn. The Wardens do not swear allegiance to kingdoms or factions. Even though they are based in the Anderfells, there are multiple Warden hubs all across Thedas, and not a single nation can claim ownership of them. That doesn't mean that they don't try, and that doesn't mean that the Great Wardens in specific parts of Thedas do not involve themselves in politics of that nation they're in. Even in Dragon Age Origins, you can very much mess with politics and with the fate of an entire nation as a Great Warden, so, let's take that with a pinch of salt. But they're not supposed to. It's frowned upon. As I said, the Order maintains the Weishaupt Fortress in the Anderfells as their main hub of operations. It is a symbol of their heritage and continuity, but a lot of Wardens, if not most of them, will actually die without ever laying eyes on Weishaupt Fortress. Their recruitment policy and right of conscription allows them to rebuild numbers quickly when losses are heavy or Darkspawn threat spikes. Over centuries, the Order developed traditions, secret knowledge, internal codes of secrecy, and self-sacrifice, forging identity not around glory, but survival and duty. As I said, recruitment is open across all races. Humans, elves, dwarves, Qunari. Race, social status, and background do not disqualify a candidate, as long as they meet standards. A lot of people are mistaken into thinking just because anyone can theoretically join the Great Wardens that anyone can join the Great Wardens, but that is not quite true. The Grey Wardens have a very high bar a recruit has to surpass to be able to join as a recruit and train alongside Grey Wardens. The Grey Wardens won the best of the best, fighting for Thedas, fighting for the survival of humankind, mankind. So yes, technically anyone can join the Grey Wardens, but they will not be able to. And there are criminals in the Great Wardens, and there's a lot of famous Great Wardens, such as Duncan, who were criminals. Duncan, in this case, was a thief, and he tried to steal from a Great Warden, and in the struggle ended up killing the Great Warden. And Commander Genevieve, who was actually betrothed to the Great Warden that Duncan ended up killing, decided to recruit him into the Order, to conscript him, actually, and we'll speak more about what that entails later. The rest is history. Duncan ended up becoming one of the most beloved and legendary Grey Wardens of all time, so there you go. But not all thieves are Duncan. Mages are accepted into the Great Wardens. But officially, the only mages that should be in the order should be there through the Circle of Magi and the Chantry. Let me explain a little bit, and we'll probably go into more about mages and their rights or lack thereof in a future video, but mages are seen as ticking time bombs. And they are like all put in a Circle of Magi, which is like a tower where once they come in, they cannot come out. But in specific instances, such as a blight, a mage will be sent by the Circle of Magi themselves into the order, and if they survive the joining, they will stop being affiliated with Circle of Magi and become a full-fledged Grey Warden themselves. The order's hierarchy post-Griffin era, yes, they had griffins, past tense, we don't talk about it, includes the following ranks. The first Warden, they stayed in Ways Out, they're the big dog, right? They are the one in charge of everything. Then you have the High Constable, who was formerly the Griffin Commander, which means they were in charge of the Griffins, and they were the ones that led all the aerial attacks when they used to be able to do that. The Chamberlain of the Great Wardens, they are the archivist of the order. They keep all the lore, all the history at Ways Out. You have the Warden Commander. Those are regional leads. They are the leader and they are the boss of their specific hub in a specific nation. The Field Commander, it's a temporary rank and it's only applicable during a blight. Constable of the Grey, it's the second in command regionally, so underneath the Warden Commander. A senior warden, a lieutenant, very self-explanatory, a warden that has been in the order for quite a while. Then you have the warden ensign, or just warden, they're their rank and file. The warden acolyte, it's those mages we were speaking of before. And the warden recruits, which are pre-joining initiates. The rite of conscription, which we were mentioning before, I said that Duncan, for example, was recruited into the order via rite of conscription. So as I mentioned before, Grey Wardens can recruit initiates and people can volunteer into joining the Grey Warden ranks, but there's also the rite of conscription. The rite of conscription allows, in times of need, for a Grey Warden to draft into the order any individual of any social rank. That means a Grey Warden can theoretically recruit a king into the Grey Warden ranks. And no, there's no way out of it. Once a Grey Warden invokes the rite of conscription, it is a done matter. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you've done. That person is now one of the Great Wardens and they belong to the order until death, which is probably gonna be very soon, considering that the joining probably kills more Great Wardens than Darkspawn do. And even if they survive the joining, that means that they have like a good 10 years before they start hearing the call-in, and then they have to go into the Deep Rose to die while killing Darkspawn. You know, Grey Warden things. As I said, the Grey Wardens have to maintain political neutrality. In theory, obviously. Their loyalty is to the Order and to Thetis' survival, not to any kingdom, religion, or faction. This makes them wildly disliked by a lot of kingdoms and nations, because they want to use them, and they can't. So they hate them. It also doesn't help that a lot of people have forgotten what a blight is like, and a lot of people will be born and die without ever seeing a Darkspawn. So a lot of nations think that Great Wardens are a dying order, like their purpose is done, it's over. So a lot of nations don't even respect them that much. As I said before, the Wardens were established during the first blight, before people knew what a Darkspawn was or what a blight was supposed to be. Their founders believed the outbreaks and mysterious illnesses that were sweeping Thetis were linked to what happened with the Magisters and the Golden City. We talked about that in the previous video about the Darkspawn, but the Chantry believes that when the Magisters from Ancient Tevinter physically breached into the Fate, they tainted the holy Golden City of the Maker with their sin and hubris. And when the Maker cast them out, they became monstrous, twisted, corrupt versions of themselves, and they became the first Darkspawn and started spreading the taint across the world. These first Wardens renounce all previous oaths they had made to their nations and beliefs and banded together to fight the threat. During the first blight, which lasted almost 200 years, mind you, the Wardens waged a long, desperate war. Eventually, they came to a head against the main Darkspawn horde, led by the archdemon Dumat. They slew him, breaking the horde's will and ending the first blight. After the victory, the Wardens were celebrated, and many nations formally pledged support to the order, which is why the Wardens now have the right of conscription. It is believed that the nations did this. They actually allowed the Wardens to theoretically recruit anyone into their rank, because after the first blight was over, they believed there would be no more blights. They believed that the Darkspawn threat was vanquished, but the Wardens believed otherwise, and they kept guarding the deep roads, any potential space where they thought a Darkspawn might emerge. And 4 blights later, they were proven right, which is really funny to me because from the first blight, people didn't believe that the Darkspawn would come back, but then they did, not only a second time, but 4 more times. But by the time we get to the 5th blight, this way of thinking is again in fashion, where a lot of nobles and a lot of people just don't believe that the Grey Wardens have a purpose anymore, because the blights are over. Although it is common knowledge that there were 7 old gods and only 4 at the time of Origins had come out as archdemons. So why are people so dumb? To become a warden, a recruit must undergo a ritual known as the joining. The joining was created in the early days of the order during the first blight as a desperate but necessary measure to give wardens the potential to survive and fight Darkspawn. We're talking about creatures whose blood is poison. It will kill you. So if you want to be able to fight and defeat hordes of them, you have to be able to get a little bit of like Darkspawn blood in your mouth and survive it. As per tradition, the recruits will be sent to find Darkspawn. Once they fight this Darkspawn and get a vial of their blood, a vial per recruit, then they will retrieve these vials and go back to their senior commander, who will then imbibe this blood with lyrium and other magical components. Then it is revealed to these recruits for the first time that they must drink the blood of the Darkspawn they felt, and if they survive, which is called the joining, they will then have the ability to sense Darkspawn and to survive being exposed to the taint. A lot of recruits won't even go through the process of drinking the blood because for them it's just a death sentence, which it is, because once the joining, the secret ritual of the Wardens, is revealed to you, you only have 2 choices. You either drink the blood and die, or you don't drink the blood and die. You will be killed in the spot, because they cannot have people running around spreading the secrets that Grey Wardens drink Darkspawn blood. That would not be a good look. If you do choose to drink the blood and you survive, the joining is a terrible process in which you will suffer from hallucinations, and in a lot of cases you will be able to see the archdemon and the Darkspawn, and you will be briefly part of their collective hive mind, kind of hinting at the Grey Warden fate of what will happen to a Grey Warden after many years of service, in which their psyche and mind will deteriorate while the taint in their body grows stronger, and they start hearing more and more of the hive mind collective of the Darkspawn. The ritual's true origin, like the exact formula, who first discovered it, how they theorized that Darkspawn blood plus lyrium would work, it's not fully documented. There are gaps in historical record. Lore sources mention a name, Nakiri of the Donarchs, credited in some traditions for first suggesting using Darkspawn blood, as his people were known to consume the blood of their enemies to absorb their power. So Nakiri might have thought that if they imbibed Darkspawn blood with lyrium or other magical components, that they would absorb their power. They would be impervious to the taint, which they are to an extent. Nakira was right. As I mentioned, the Grey Wardens treat the joining as a sacred secret. The process, the recipe, and the reasons of why the joining is what it is are guarded. Only those inside the order know, and not everyone is privy to this secret. Not everyone knows how to prepare for the joining. All recruits, even those who fail the joining, are recorded. Their names remain in the archives, honored for their sacrifice. surprise. I talked very briefly about how the Grey Wardens were founded and what kind of happened in the first blight, but I want to delve more into all the blights that have been so far. So the first blight, beginning in minus 395 ancient, that means nothing to you and it means nothing to me, but whatever. A long time ago, it ravaged Thedas. In response, ex-Imperial soldiers, battle-hardened veterans from the Tevinter Imperium gather at Weishaupt. They renounced their old oaths, banded together, and formed the Grey Wardens. Over roughly a century, the Wardens waged campaigns of reclamation and defense against the Darkspawn hordes, systematically pushing back, protecting populations, and restoring hope. Culminating in minus 203 ancient, almost 200 years later, during the First Blight, the Wardens and allied armies confronted a Darkspawn horde led by the Archdemon, later identified as Dumat. On the Silent Plains, Dumat was slain, the horde broke, and the Darkspawn were forced underground. This officially ended the First Blight. With the First Blight ended, the Wardens gained formal recognition, many nations gave solemn promises of support, and the Wardens obtained the right of conscription, a legal, official power to draft recruits when necessary to maintain the Order's strength. Over centuries, the Wardens remained vigilant. They fought smaller Darkspawn incursions, defended dwarven holdings in the deep roads, and prepared for future blights, even during long eras of peace. Unlike popular belief, the First Blight was not the only blight. There were 4 more after that, and we'll be going through all of them. Next is the Second Blight. As Darkspawn rose again, under Archdemon Zazikael this time, the Wardens defended their strongholds. When Tevinter abandoned the Underfelds, the newly founded Orlesian Empire intervened under Emperor Cordelis Draken I, lifting the siege of Weishaupt and pushing the threat back. The Wardens later helped defeat Zazikael at Starkhaven. The Third Blight, under Archdemon Toth, Darkspawn attacked Central Thedas. The Wardens rallied in resistance. At the Battle of Hunterfell, they slew Toth and crushed the Horde. With no full blight, Wardens kept watch, and then the Fourth Blight broke. In this grim age, the Wardens fought with desperation. They even tried to use griffins. You remember how I said they had griffins? So they put the griffins through the joining, so the griffins, like themselves, wouldn't die immediately upon being infected by the taint, with horrible and tragic results leading to the griffin extinction. Many nations forgot the Darkspawn thread was a thread after the Fourth Blight. Support for the Wardens waned because most people just saw them as relics of a bygone era. Heroes of an old horror that people didn't need to worry about anymore. So Wardens struggle with dwindling resources and public distrust, which is wild to me because, again, it is common knowledge that there's 7 old gods. So far, you guys have only been through 4 of them. That leaves unaccounted for 3 of them. So what do you think is gonna happen next? Yes, the Fifth Blight. The Fifth Blight, which is the one that we deal with in Dragon Age Origins. So, surprise! The Darkspawn are back. Who would have thought? Who could have seen that coming? Not me, obviously. And not them. Obviously not them. But the Darkspawn are back, and this time they're led by the Archdemon Orthamiel. By this time, as is established, people do not believe that blights are a thing anymore. They're old-fashioned. They're a thing of the past. So, despite Duncan, in this case, warning the King of Ferelden, King Kaelin, that there are tellings that a blight might be happening. There's a lot of Darkspawn on the surface. There's a lot of organized skirmishes. Grey Wardens are having strange dreams. They're hearing things. King Kaelin does not believe this specific, battle of Ostgard, this battle to deal with this quite considerable amount of Darkspawn that are in the surface, is the beginning of a blight. So, disregarding any fucking advice given by actual people that know what they're talking about, King Kaelin amasses an army and goes to Ostgard to fight what he believes to be a mere rogue skirmish of Darkspawn. Surprise, surprise, it ain't a skirmish. It ain't a little battle of Ostgard. It's the Battle of Ostgard, in which King Kaelin gets absolutely fucking murked, and all except two fucking Grey Wardens of all of Ferelden die. Gone. Dead. And to add insult to injury, Loghain, father-in-law of King Kaelin, he pulls back from the Battle of Ostgard because He might be crazy, but he ain't stupid, and he knows that the battle is over before it even began. And he pulls away with his soldiers and then blames the Grey Wardens of the death of King Kaelin, marking us as traitors to the crown, and making the whole process of building an army to stop the blight that people still do not believe it's happening, mind you. They do not believe this. They make it very difficult, but we managed to do it. After securing the help of the Dalish, the Dwarves, the nobles of Denerim, what else? The Circle of Magi, we take the battle to the Darkspawn themselves, and we slay Archdemon Orthamiel in the Battle of Denerim. After that, the order was granted lands by the Crown of Ferelden. But they also began investigating some Darkspawn anomalies, like talking Darkspawn and Darkspawn with intelligence, which is not good. It ain't good at all. And that is the beginning of Awakening, where you delve into all the goodness that is the potential of a 6th blight with Darkspawn that talk and think and feel and might even become a new race by themselves. What a pity that we never got another Dragon Age game after Origins, really. So that was the Grey Wardens, my beloved Grey Wardens. I know that I said that a lot, like, oh my god, this is the Darkspawn. I love the Darkspawn. This is the Grey Wardens. I do. I love this. I love this setting. I love everything about it. And I feel like it's perfect in every single aspect. And again, what a pity that they never made another game after this. I wonder where they would have taken the story. We'll never know. Sad, we only have our memories and our brains and our theories and our little fun fictions. God knows, I have my little fun fictions. So yes, let me know how you feel about the Great Wardens. Me personally, I mean, you guys know me. I love Dragon Age Origins, and I love playing as the hero of Ferelden. I was the hero of Ferelden growing up, and I still am the hero of Ferelden, okay? I loved all the intricacies, all the, you are supposed to be a neutral political party, but you are forced as the only two remaining, like one of the two remaining Grey Wardens in all of Ferelden, alongside with Alistair, you're forced to actually jump and dive into politics and help all these nations and cultures and people into helping you, because if you don't do it, then everyone will be gone. So you might as well throw that whole, political neutrality out of the window and pull some fucking threats and strings here and there to get people to do your bidding, because guess what? If they had listened to Duncan, we wouldn't be in this position to begin with. So am I wrong if I decide who the king of Orzammar is? No. Am I wrong if I decide who the king of Ferelden is? No, I don't think so. I think I'm warranted in doing that because you guys branded me as a traitor. So I might as well do whatever the fuck I want because I was right and you were wrong. Anyways, that's been the Grey Wardens. Tell me if you like them. And if you don't like them, tell me your address so I can pay you a visit. Thank you so much for watching my ramblings on all things Dragon Age, and see you in the next one, which I don't know what's gonna be about. It depends on what tickles my fancy. I love you guys. Bye-bye.